sex, beauty, glamour, a wild child thrown in on the side, a bit of drugs makes Robert Pereno a name in showbiz history. Basically, he rocked. Now what we're going to find out is if he's still rocking. He's still rocking, Roberto?
I was on Monday night.
Monday night?
Yeah, because I've got this film club, which is at the Sanctum Hotel, owned by Mark Fuller and Andy Taylor, the manager of Iron Maiden.
Right.
And it's a private cinema, and I've been doing it for a year. It's sort of half literary, half film, and last week we had an event on, went really well, showed a very old film, Dinah Dawes film, and then afterwards I had a party at Hicks, or Jeremy Healy DJing, Dave Durrell, Mary Luckland Young, a poet, and I got excited. I get excited.
Did you get drunk?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I didn't have any do drugs. Yeah, I did one line.
Oh gosh, yeah. Roberto.
Well, I just, you know what? Just one. That's fine. That's almost legal.
Really?
Yeah.
It probably was even cocaine.
Not anymore. The quality is so bad now.
Really, I don't do it.
You either have a good poo or can't sleep. Anyway.
Let's rewind a bit. Back to the days of disco were coming to an end. Chelsea was a scene, and Crazy Larry's was the place to be.
It was. Tuesdays.
You ran Crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy
I did.
Larry's
well,
on a Tuesday night.
What happened was, I was an actor. Went to drama school. Was an actor. Did bits and pieces. Minder, Dempsey and Makepeace. I was doing all a little bit of theatre, and then there's periods where you're not acting, so you think, what shall I do? I said, well, I knew quite a few people, so I told them. I went there actually on my girlfriend at the time's sister used to go to this lesbian night there,
right,
called Heads. It's a good name for
good name for lesbian
night. And on a Sunday night, so I said to the manager, I'll do Tuesday. On the Sunday, I said I'd do Tuesday. I'll throw a party. Just give me the door money, you keep the bar. And that night was packed. Packed.
Everybody turned up at your night.
Everyone turned up. I mean, I'd got, you know, it was Chelsea set. I'd grown up in Markham Square, so I knew a core of people, and I just had a few bands that I've got, you know, I'd done, all young people should have a band, shouldn't they? So I'd done a couple of bands and a bit of acting. And suddenly I got 400 quid and I got off with quite a pretty girl. And I was drunk. I thought, well, this is a good career. And little did I know, I did it for 8 years. Then I did the WAG Club, many other clubs as well, in the end Ministry, loads. I became a nightclub promoter. In those days...
was it easier in those days?
I think it was easier. There was less, because
everyone's
everyone's a promoter now. And also now, it's all about money, the clubs are all about. I know there's the Camden scene and there are Shoreditch and there is a scene, but... the sort of Starbucks culture's come in. It's just, you know, you go to most of the clubs, it's expensive, really expensive. The divide between rich and poor, I think then there was a great mix. There was a great mix of people.
When I think about the 80s, I think of it as being very much about rebellion and misbehaving. Was it like that?
Yeah, well, that night was really the end of my long-term relationship. So suddenly, at 28 or whatever I was, sort of mid to late 20s, I suddenly was single, and I suddenly met Amanda Cadenet and Tamara Beckwith, and then one of them.
Were they the sort of people that would come to your clubs?
Yeah, there was, you know, that sort of Chelsea set, and suddenly I'm surrounded by these pretty girls. And my flatmate, I lived with a guy moves in called Adam Perry, who had the biggest selling poster of all time, Adam Perry.
Right. And
he's a top model, so it just, I enjoyed being single. But it, unfortunately, I'm not very good at being single. So I would meet this girl who says she's 17, but she was 14.
Right.
And she was called Emma Ridley, the wild child. Now lives in LA, married 3 times, 2 kids. She's a Christian pole dancing teacher. It's weird, isn't it?
So,
now,
did you propose to Emma, or did Emma propose to you?
Well, what happened was, it was illegal. When I finally found out she was 14, and then when she hit 15, we thought, well, we're not allowed to have sex. It's illegal. So we flew to Las Vegas.
Was it a real white...
With her mum.
Right.
We flew to Las Vegas. It was a
white
wedding.
Her mum fully consented. Yeah, I think I heard somewhere that her mum got caught up in it more than anybody else.
Oh, she did, yeah. Actually, I was in a little bit of a bipolar high. I think a reaction to a long-term relationship, going a bit wild, and I thought, we'll get married, the honourable thing to do. So we flew to Las Vegas. When we flew back, I remember after the wedding, we were married by the Reverend Dwayne Williams, who was a part-time truck driver in the Circus Casino.
Right.
And afterwards we went to the Caesar's Palace for a surf and turf. And she got drunk and she pushed all the food, because News of the World paid for us to go.
Yeah.
And at that moment I thought, my acting career's over now. I'm going to fly back. And I flew back. And then I suppose now she'd end up on Big Brother, but then, you know, it was all the News of the World and all that gutter press. And in many ways, my acting career went over.
Downhill.
My reaction was to go even wilder. So we lasted a couple of years, but then I ended up, in the end, she actually got fed up with my antics, and that ended, and she flew off to LA.
Your Lothario
She lived,
antics.
Yeah, bad.
Was it a
I'm
real
not,
white?
I'm not telling you about Liz Hurley or Sophie Doll.
Was it a real white wedding?
It was in a casino, as far as you can go. But I mean, you can marry your dog in Las Vegas if you got the money. But it was all with the mother, with the judge. It was all perfectly legal.
I'm guessing.
Had no sex on the wedding night.
No.
She was too drunk. Actually, funny enough, I just got married again 4 years ago and I had no sex on that wedding night either. So
The tabloids obviously absolutely loved you. I mean,
yes and
Daily
no.
Mail
I did,
readers
yeah.
must have hated
Oh,
you.
yeah.
And Margaret Thatcher must have wanted to have you shot.
and it's so funny because that was her birthday party a couple of years. She was 86 yesterday. Do you know that?
Really?
And I actually, funnily enough, it's how I viewed it because I'd been an actor. And my mother was a singer. I grew up in India. My mother was a nightclub singer. I grew up in nightclubs watching her sing, and I moved to, you know, I had the potential of not being Ian McKellen or anyone, but I had a career going, and that marriage.
You did music videos as well, didn't you?
I'd had a couple of bands
Yeah.
that, you know, we played at the Blitz. They were talking Steve Strange and all that.
Yeah.
Crap. I'm a minor boarding school boy, Chelsea boy, yeah, that then grew up in Chelsea, and I saw really near the Man in the Moon pub where X-Ray Specs played, and I saw Adam Ant and all these people, and I wasn't very curly hair, trousers too high, not very cool, but I wanted to get into that scene.
Yeah. Was the Wild Child thing kind of all about damage?
Yeah, you know, it goes on now, doesn't it? Probably. I've read your book. I've read.
What did Wild Child mean to you?
Well, I mean, it's the classic song, isn't it, by Iggy Pop? And in many ways, the media. What happened was Mandy Smith was doing a fashion show at the Limelight, and I was there with Emma, and Emma, being an exhibitionist and a show-off, jumps
But you're
on.
a bit of an
She jumped on
exhibitionist,
stage,
aren't
took
you?
her clothes off,
Right.
and I didn't hit her, but I had a whip above the ceiling, and we hijacked this show. As she comes off stage, Richard Young, the paparazzi, goes, "Who's that?" I said, "Emma Ridley." Now, at the time, Emma Ridley's sister, Joanne Ridley, was in a major TV series called with Richard O'Sullivan.
Right.
It was about a single
and
father
the dad
and a daughter.
was famous as well.
Well, her father, no, but Emma was an actress. She'd
Right.
been in quite a few things, Return to Oz. She'd been in quite a few films, commercials. She had her own money, so she was a little, you know, and her sister was a household name because of this series, Me and My Girl, it was called. Do you remember that? Anyone?
No, I'm too young.
No, too young. Maybe that guy. And so, but I took it badly. And after we married, actually, I was in a bit of a depression. A little bit of a, I went
You
down.
went into rehab, didn't you?
No, that was much later.
That was later.
But,
okay, we'll come to that later. But are the Wild Child still out there? You know, the girls have got.
They've all-
Roberto, come with me. I've got, you know, a bit of something in
I'm
my
sure
handbag.
they're out there. Yeah, I don't get to. Yeah, I don't go that.
they out last
That's
Monday?
a bit young. No, we're not that young anymore. No, more like they've got Zimmer frames now. Over the Zimmer frame, it's so insane. It's over in a flash, and then I go and spend their
How
cash.
did your club nights come to an end and the
It
Wild
came
Child
to an end.
era
Well,
just-
Crazy Lads was raided.
Right. By the police?
Yeah. It was a really good night. I thought, we have made money tonight. It was packed, but I didn't know that we'd have an extra 25% of people were all police because there was a lot of
Plain
drug taking.
clothes.
I catered for dysfunctional Chelsea girls and South London black guys. We had Carl Cox who used to DJ for 50 quid, Seb Fontaine, all people that went on to long career, you know, big careers. Times were different. They were different. It was more of, I think, perhaps. I think the gap. I'm repeating myself. The gap between rich and poor now is so
It's very.
extreme, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's all about money. You know, I think you interviewing someone earlier that they don't give a band time. There's no time now. If you don't make money, if you open a business, it's got to make money straight away. You know, now, for instance, a nightclub, they want to know who the demographic, who's going to come to the club before you open.
Yeah.
Because of the business rates and the rents. But I quite like a recession. I mean, I was involved in the warehouse scene. office blocks are empty, throw a party. You know, the punk scene, Kings Road, recession. Now with the recession, we've got a shop around the corner. We've done a little bit of a deal with the landlord because times are hard. It's a time for the outsider to make a move in. I think it's probably healthy for the music business. In a sense, Simon Cowell really is already yesterday, because he's part of what we've just had, which is a false economy, an overinflated economy. And in many ways, now is a time for the maverick, the outsider, the bands
to kind of come forward.
Yeah, I think we can only be positive. I think I'm optimistic. I want more of a recession.
You want more?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even have a bank account, so I don't have a mobile, television, or bank account. My wife gives me pocket money.
Gosh. Back in the day...
Live outside the system.
Back in the day,
it's
though, in
less
the
stress.
80s, how would you decide who came into your club and who didn't?
Well, pretty people came in, yeah.
Was it like a clipboard and like surname?
There was I used to, a good-looking person at the door.
Double-barreled name, straight to the bar.
Yeah, double-barrel name, straight to the bar. Yeah. But, it was just like all these things, sometimes in life you can try really hard and it doesn't take off. Somehow, Tuesday night took off. And then the WAG ring me up, so I did the WAG on a Thursday, then I did another club on a Friday, then I was doing a succession. I only stopped 4 years ago. I was doing the Cobden Woodies. I did a couple of raves in Malta, by the way, this summer.
Oh, really?
I dislocated my shoulder.
How did you get into DJing out in Malta?
Well, everyone can DJ now. You do it on Tractor. I know a lot of the old house tunes. It was house. I got into house, kind of techno, and then I took a young person who knew the newer tunes.
Yeah. And how did it go?
It went fine.
Good time?
Party's Going Bad put on a remix of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
And
Also Back My Bitch Up by Prodigy. There's so many remixes, and then they all go. But I'm known as Bobby Devil when I DJ. I'm a little bit of a devil.
I'd never have guessed. You did eventually go into rehab, so you obviously must have realised you hit rock bottom. What made you realise that you'd hit rock bottom?
Well, I was not living it. I was kind of living in a girlfriend's flat where when she went to work with kids. I'd realised I had nothing left.
Kind of like existing rather than living.
And I thought... Subsequently, I found out it wasn't really... I've never particularly been home. It was a combination of everything. It was a combination of... Well, you can see that I am. I put everything into everything. And so when I became this nightclub promoter, I became almost like an actor. I became the part, and I couldn't stop the part, even when the party was over. Do you know what I mean? So the party's over, but I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop because my energy levels were so high, and it was a kind of crash. Rehab, I loved Rehab.
You loved it, just getting away from it. And...
I quite like boarding school. I quite like the communal thing. I went to a place called Clouds.
Yeah.
In Wiltshire. I got addicted to croquet there, so they banned it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
But I didn't finish the course. I never finish anything. That's a slight
start issue. Something, and then it's like you get bored.
I get bored. Spoilt child.
Are you able to have a drink today and go out?
I do drink now. I stopped for 2.5 years. I did the AA thing, and that became addictive, and I found myself not even working or doing anything.
Do you think you can become too involved in like being clean and being sober and like?
I think it's a balance. It's a balance. Yeah, and it got to the point where I thought all I'm doing is keep saying I'm ill, and I now see myself as just me. So occasionally I'll get drunk. Very occasionally I'll do drugs, but the gaps are so long. And I'm one of the main things is whatever I get up in the morning. I work.
Go to work.
Yeah, I go to work. However I'm feeling. Because once you get into the self-pity and don't go to work, and it's a spiral. But I'm a bit bipolar, and oversensitive. Can you tell?
A little bit.
Yeah. Oh. So I'm a bit sensitive.
I kind of think that
I am sensitive.
But you're a performer. I've been to your club nights, and
yeah,
I couldn't work out when I first went to one of your club nights if you were high on drugs. But when I spoke to you, it's like you said. You were a performer. This is what you do. You like to make people happy.
We are what we are, yeah. And so, although I don't always look like I listen, I will. Everything you said, I might answer it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, no way.
So I have attention deficit disorder and those things, but I read a lot. I mean, for me, rehab helped a bit. Yoga helped a bit. But what helped more is that I religiously read every day. When I get up in the morning, I read a lot.
What sort of authors do you
like?
Well,
from Bukowski, that I adore, I've got nearly every one of his books, through to all the greats, Fitzgerald to Hemingway.
I love
But I'm
Fitzgerald.
particularly fond of the English writers like Patrick Hamilton, which you might not have read, who wrote Hangover Square, Slaves of Solitude, and books about 1940s London, bedsits, broken people. He was the other side of someone like Evelyn Waugh that talked about posh people. So I got quite involved in, our shop sells a lot of literature by people like him, Julie McLaren Ross, and I like London between the wars and after the war.
I read a lot of Dorothy Parker poems.
I love Dorothy Parker.
She's real, isn't she? She she's all about life and death and kind of like the bad and good things that happen to you.
I'll give you one.
Go on then.
When you say you're his, shivering and sighing, and he vows his love, endless and undying. Lady, make note of this, one of you is lying.
I read that the other night.
It's great, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
That's the irony, the humour. I love Dorothy Parker, yeah.
She's cool. Moving forward, you're now remarried.
Yeah.
You have a lovely lady, and you've gone into business together.
Yes.
Tell me about the business.
We have a shop called the Society Club, established in 1957. And it's really under the umbrella of the Society Club. It's really everything that I'm passionate about and like. I mean, the quote here is the best of all possible things, which is from Voltaire. All is for the best in this best of all possible worlds. It is Voltaire, isn't it?
Yeah.
I had a blank for a minute with the camera on me. So we sell homemade jam that she plucks the fruit. We sell obviously books, first editions, a lot of first editions, which we're just compiling. That'll be downstairs, collectible books.
Right.
And upstairs we have books that we like, we're passionate about. At the same time, it's a coffee bar with events. We have Sam Edwards, who will be doing her poetry next week. We've got an exhibition of the Ace Caf, which is where all the bikers go on the North Circular. So that's on at the moment. But next week we've got Lee Childer. You've got to come.
Okay, I'll be there.
He was the factory photographer for Andy Warhol.
That'd be awesome.
And
have you seen the film Factory Girl?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Actually, funny enough, I thought she was really good in that film.
Sienna Miller.
Yeah, I don't always think, but I thought in that film, actually, it was.
She came across as very vulnerable, and he came across as kind of like overpowering, which some people say he wasn't. That he wasn't that manipulating.
He was detached, wasn't he? Had a little wig. It was a wig, wasn't it?
Yeah. Right.
That's not a wig.
That's real,
grey.
isn't
I've gone grey. Look at that, the cigarette on the afterwards.
What club nights do you run?
Well, basically, I do my film club on a Monday night, and next week I've got I marry a book and a film with my film night. Right. I've got some really good ones coming out. I think I've got Nick Rogue, who's got his biography coming to do one. We've had Jubilee, Adamant. He came, he played, because he's a little minor show.
He's a good friend of yours, isn't he, Adamant?
Stuart is a good friend of ours. He's actually involved in the shop.
Right.
Or you can buy his plectrum in there if you want.
I'd love one.
Tell one of your young
I will
bands.
do. Adamants.
He sells them for £3 with his Adamant picture on it.
That's awesome.
You know the Adamant, what happened to Adamant, don't you?
No.
Because I know him from when he was in a band called Bazooka Joe. And Bazooka Joe's Sex Pistols' first gig was supporting Bazooka Joe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he has a long history in Soho, where we are. We are in Soho.
When I used to party, I used to go to China White and Funky Buddha.
I think I saw you there.
Yeah. And I went back, that was like 5-6 years ago, and I went to China White about 4 weeks ago.
Oh, it's horrible.
And it was awful.
Yeah.
It just seemed like everything had moved on and completely changed. Do you ever visit any of your old haunts in Chelsea?
Well, I do go to clubs. I went because not that often. I lived in Jermyn Street. I went to the opening of the Cuckoo Club, and it's just Euro trash. And I don't like this whole thing now with the champagne flute, and I can't afford it.
Champagne flute with the sparklers.
Yeah, and it's full of like
£10,000
sort of moneyed. I can't use the word, but it starts with a W, and then there's quite a few letters after it. And then girls that are just sponging off them, but it's got really much worse now. And
like the
£500 a bottle of vodka.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the music, and they're all fighting for the same. I assume, because I do live in the West End, I assume the better clubs, but I'm perhaps too old, are in Shoreditch and the East End. There must be an underground exciting
where they're playing real music.
All the West End clubs, it's all about money, isn't it? So I went to the Cuckoo Club.
Yeah.
But although Jackson Scott played, he's good. You should interview him.
Yeah, I've met Jackson Scott.
He's nice. He's talented. Manos de Dios. They're good. Latin.
It does seem after all the hustle and bustle of the 80s, you've really kind of found your path in life, and
For the moment, because it all go horribly wrong.
how
Don't
did
you
it go?
find?
I don't know.
Well, you know, life's this sort of. The moment I'm sort of. I have to make this work, this shop work. I'm
Yeah.
putting everything into it. It's exhausting. It's long. I'm there at 7:30 cleaning it, putting events
Do
together.
you make the teas in there? Or?
Yeah, make tea, coffees, and we have a poetry. When I go back in a minute, we've got a poetry evening. We have some good events on. We've got Daniel Kaner on Wednesday, who's doing the Jewish Chronicles.
Right.
A lot of literary stuff. In a way, I tell you what it is. It's a grown-up version of what I did before. So we never really change, do we?
Not really.
No. Have you found that?
I kind of feel that I've grown up.
You've grown
but I'm
up,
still
but
a
you're
wild
still-
child at heart.
Well, yeah, you're still fundamentally the same spirit,
Yeah.
aren't you? I mean, I went to India 5 years ago where I grew up, Calcutta, and I'm 54 now, and I went there, I was 2005, and I saw childhood friends. And in many ways, when you see you want them to sort of, I don't know, the ego one. And they, oh, you're just the same, they go. I said, I was 10. I'm 54. But in a way, isn't that nice? You know one
That you're
thing,
revisiting your
personality,
childhood.
never really, your personality will be,
always stay with
unless
you.
you have such a trauma, you know, but you can't really change your personality.
Where
It's
do you
scary,
s-
isn't it?
where do you
However
see
much
it-
yoga you do, or carrot
I
soup.
don't do yoga. I got banned from yoga
What,
for
you don't like
laughing.
yoga? So I
No.
find because I've got bad posture, it's really good for the posture.
Standing
I've
up
got
straight.
because I go out with short birds. Maybe I should go out with taller ones. So I always go out with short girls. So maybe I should. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to go out with
That's-
taller girls.
Where do you see
The
yourself in
wife,
5 years'
they always
time?
tell you off, women. The women are this. I love you. You're perfect. Now change.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Here, sitting in this chair, talking to you with cameras on me, with a gin and tonic and a cigar.
Robert Pereno, it
Listen.
seems like you're still rocking. It's been a pleasure having you in the studio
Oh,
today.
and it's lovely seeing you.
You too.
And you should read her book. If you get off the receiver.
Thank you for
Thank you very
coming
much.
today.
Right.
Mwah. Mwah.
Right.
God, you talk for England.
Was that all right? Was I all right?
Yeah, you're
Sure. Seriously. Was it?